Mr. Edsel, how'd you get started in this business?
Well, it was really my third career. I'd moved to Florence. I was living in Florence in 1996 and started studying art and architecture there. Of course, what better place in the world to do it? And I walked across the Ponte Vecchio one day, which was the only bridge not destroyed by the Nazis in August 1944 when they fled the city, and wondered how so many of the works of art and cultural treasures survived the most destructive conflict in history, and who were the people that saved it. And I didn't know the answer, and I wasn't embarrassed about that, but I was hugely embarrassed. It never occurred to me to wonder. And I started asking friends of mine in Europe, and they said, "That's a great question. What's the answer?" And I said, "You live here. You should know." And it really evolved this way, having just out of curiosity. I couldn't, of course, seen at the beginning writing 3 books about it, now a feature film, et cetera. And the Monument's been foundation, continuing these men and women's work. But it's been an incredible privilege for me to represent these remarkable heroes, 5 of whom are still living, and it's just been an amazing experience.
Why did you move to Florence in '96?
I sold my business. I was in the oil exploration business and had some success doing that over 15 years, but I was 39 years old, and I guess I had an acute understanding how quickly 39 can become 59, and I wanted something more meaningful to me, and I didn't have any idea what it was going to be, but it was very difficult just carving out space to break free of the gravitational pull of an established life. My son was 2 years old. I wasn't spending time with him like I wanted to. So it just seemed like a great opportunity to take a break, go learn about things that I'd always been interested in, just never had the time to do it. And well, here we are.
So what was your first career? Your second career was oil?
I had a determination to be a professional tennis player, and I played some qualifying tournaments and had some success, but I came to the conclusion I couldn't be great, and that was important to me, and so I had to let go of it. And it was a very, very difficult thing to do, but it helped me in ways I couldn't foresee at the time when I was thinking about selling my oil and gas exploration business. That was difficult too, letting go of really an identity, but I'd done it once before and survive that, and so it was a great enthusiasm of mine to be able to go take some time off and learn about things I didn't know about.
Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Oak Park, Illinois, but I spent most of my time in Dallas. My parents are from Oklahoma and moved to Dallas in 1960, and so I was there, educated there, and then went to several different colleges and ultimately built my business career working out of Dallas.
When did you get interested in art and history?
I've always been interested in history, but I really didn't know that much about art. My parents weren't rich, but they were able to take us on some trips and exposed us to going to museums just as tourists. And I was always interested in, in seeing these things. I didn't understand anything about them other than I thought one was pretty or one wasn't. Spent some time walking through churches, but as I started traveling more as a adult, and then once I became married, I had more interest in these things. Again, not really understanding what I was looking at, but for me, I wasn't interested in trying to understand it through reading books. I've learned best outside a classroom, very tactile, and so when I was in Florence, there are a lot of American universities there. I hired an American professor to take me around the city one day a week and show me these things through her eyes. I want to see what I want to learn about these things in a very, very hands-on way. And it was a great, great experience to understand how sculpture moves, why churches that both appear to be the same, one's more important than the other. And of course, I say Europe was my classroom and Florence was my school. And it really was an extraordinary opportunity.
Robert Edsel, is there a dollar figure that you can put on the art that was stolen by the Nazis?
It's as high as you want to make it. I mean, we really get into an exercise of futility trying to put numbers on it. Do we approach $1 trillion? We might. When we think about paintings today, some paintings selling for $150 million, $200 million, we have to ask what would happen if Leonardo da Vinci's Lady with an Ermine had come onto the market and could be sold. I'm sure we're in $250, $300 million range. So you can get to $1 billion very, very quickly with a couple of paintings, and you start to think that in some of these salt mines and caves and castles, these monuments officers were finding 20,000 paintings, 10,000 paintings, hundreds of thousands of ancient library books and libraries. So the numbers just get to be staggering.
How much is still missing?
Here again, this becomes an exercise in numbers. A lot of people like to, I think, deal with numbers that are just so large. I think it makes it harder for the public to understand. A number that I use is hundreds of thousands of cultural objects, including works of art. But the Nazis stole everything that had any value to it. So we're talking about tapestries, paintings, drawings, important books, documents. In Poland alone, they have some 60,000 specific works of art that are on their missing database. So when we say a few 100,000 cultural objects, that's not a random number that is just picked out of the sky, but some people use in the millions of numbers, and it's just hard to tell.
202 is the area code if you would like to talk with the Monuments Men author, Robert Edsel. 585-3880 for those of you in the East and Central time zones, 585-3881 if you live in the Mountain or Pacific time zones. Now, if you can't get through on the phone lines, you can contact us via social media. @BookTV is our Twitter handle. You can also send an email to booktv@cspan.org. And finally, on our Facebook page, you can make a comment there. You'll see it right up at the top, facebook.com/booktv. We're going to begin with a call from Bernie in Howard Beach, New York. Bernie, you're on with Robert Edsel.
Good morning, Mr. Edsel. I read the Rape of Europa, and in it they talk about Lincoln Kirstein going over before the war to buy degenerate art. I'm wondering whether or not you can speak to what the circumstances were. I believe it was before the war, before '39. It may have been in Germany or in Sweden. Can you tell me something about it? What happened? What did he buy?
No, one of the great things I've learned in the course of my work over the last 15 years is to speak passionately about the things I know about and be quick to say, I don't know that. And in this case, I can't help you on that one.
Did the Nazis take great care with this art, or were they careless?
I think you have a whole range of things. In the earlier days when they're in control of things, I think there was some degree of care shown for works of art that were being confiscated, intended for Hitler's collection, certainly the things that were intended for Goering's collection. But when the mass removals of works of art from people's homes in the East, where the homes are destroyed, the cities are razed, no, I don't think there's care there. And of course in the West, as Jews' apartments are looted en masse, no, these things are piled up. I think it's one of the paradoxes of the war that a lot of these works of art that survived did survive because as a result of having been stolen and hidden in these salt mines and caves and castles that were out of the way of Allied bombing, they survived where they might not have otherwise. So there are a lot of dislocations and paradoxes in the telling of this story. That's just one of them.
Andy, Kensington, Maryland. Hi, Andy.
Hi. So thank you for all the great work that you've done. My question has to do with the National Gallery of Art, and I believe they currently have an exhibit that's, timed to coincide with the movie. But for about 15 years or so, I've been really troubled with the National Gallery of Art because it turns out that back in the 1980s, they put on an exhibition of artworks on loan that included some artworks that had been looted by the Nazis. And this was a collection of art of Impressionist paintings by the Swiss industrialist Emil Buhler. And once this came out, the National Gallery never addressed it. It has never apologized, and it's just sort of like, buried its head in the sand like an ostrich. And so now they are claiming to be so concerned about this issue. But my question to you is, number one, are you familiar with that issue? And number two, do you have any suggestions in terms of pressure that might be applied to have them, address this issue? All they have to do is apologize.
All right, Andy, we got the point. Robert Edsel.
Yeah, I think that I don't know about the specific event you're talking about. I mean, the Burler collection, I have a little bit of knowledge about, but this is a long time ago now, and the issue of provenance, which is a fancy way of saying who's owned it previously, is something that really has come into the fore now since the late 1990s, and I think I don't really see any point in trying to go back and scold the National Gallery or any other galleries for things that might have happened in the 1980s concerning the decision about works of art that are being shown. I don't think that would happen today, and I think that we should focus on going forward, trying to solve some of the problems that we can fix, and that's really what the work of the Monuments Men Foundation is on a go-forward basis.
Stephen Hall, a professor at Alcorn State University, tweets in, "Wonderful presentation. My history students at Alcorn State are assigned to watch the movie." What do you think of the movie?
I think the movie's fantastic in this respect. It's a hugely challenging